Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. We have roll call, please.
Campbell. Morgan.
Here.
Nordentoff. Taft.
Here.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
And Sula.
Present, we do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the first item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment for items that are on the agenda but excluding the public hearing items. There looks to be no one here, so I'll close the floor to the public. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, a special use permit request for 1.25 plus or minus acres located at 720 Milwaukee Avenue. Shannon?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Primo Italian American Cuisine Restaurant has two existing monument signs located on the subject property. The first sign is located at the North Riverside Drive entrance, and the second sign is located at the Milwaukee Avenue entrance. The zoning ordinance allows two monument signs on property with more than 1,000 feet of street frontage. Primo has approximately 1,030 feet of street frontage. North Shore Sign Company is proposing a third monument sign, an electronic message center sign, to be located on the North Riverside Drive as well. The street frontage running along North Riverside Drive is approximately 540 feet. Also at 10 feet 8 inches, the height of the proposed EMC sign will be under the 12-foot height maximum as code dictates. Thank you. Oh, and we also have Matt here from North Shore Sign.
Okay, great. As this is a public hearing, I would request that anyone from the petitioner or members of the general public who intend to give testimony or ask questions to please stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Could use the microphones in the center. And
All right, so my name is Matt Lask. I'm from North Shore Sign. So what we were doing is we are going to be proposing the third sign there. As Shannon mentioned, it is going to feature an electronic message unit. I've been over with the board a couple times in the past few months for Gurnee Community Church and American Legion. It's going to be the same manufacturer of those message boards as well as for the Alec Credit Union sign. As previously determined, the Alec Credit Union sign is 27 square feet. So that has kind of been the standard, everything falls under in terms of size for the message unit. This would be about 24 square feet, so it would fall under that. The top portion, I don't know if we have a drawing, yes. So the top portion of the ID cabinet where it says Primo Steak, the Primo portion would be pushed through. So Primo there will light up white at night as well as a glowing halo kind of white light around each of the individual letters. The red underscore and the yellow steak will be routed and backed, so instead of having the halo glowing, those will just illuminate red and yellow. The middle portion there will feature the electronic message board, and then the bottom will include a pole cover that has a trellis and ivy design kind of to tie in what's on the building for Primo, so it ties into the look of the actual building itself. As far as location, yeah, this will go exactly where the old in-law sign on that little island right there. Obviously the existing sign for in-laws was removed as well as the foundation. The power is still there, so all we will do is just set a new pole in that new location there. But other than that, I can answer any other questions.
okay, I'll start. I'm not a big fan of adding a third sign. Given that you barely meet the requirements for two signs, I think a third sign's a stretch. I do support the electronic sign though, but only if it's replacing one of the existing signs.
So I did have that conversation with Chris Kayat, the owner, today. If the third sign is not something that we would be able to get, if we can pull up the site map there, where it says sign number 1, the first sign right there, where we would propose the sign to be then. If only 2 would be allowed, that is where,
So the sign on Riverside would be...
correct, that would be removed and replaced with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be amenable to that.
Yeah.
Comments from other members?
I agree. I was hoping that you were replacing one of the signs that was already there. That was my thought also. Number 1 was the perfect location for this sign. I think you did a great job on the sign itself. It's beautiful, and I have no problem with electronic messaging.
Okay.
Same page.
Liliana?
I think the new location you're talking about is a great use of space for the sign. I'm just curious about what is the purpose of the sign?
Mainly just going to be, as far as the electronic portion,
Yes.
so just going to be announcements for the restaurants, telling specials going on, as you can see on the drawing there, bands that are going there throughout the weekend, stuff like that nature.
Okay, so you're not really using it to give people an idea where to turn in to get to?
No, it's mainly going to be for, weekly, like Friday night specials, bands performing that weekend, stuff like that.
Okay. And have you figured out what it might do to traffic there? That's a weird space on Milwaukee Avenue where people are turning, merging, deciding which way they're going to go when they get to Grand Avenue. You don't really see any sort of distraction there?
No, we do have several safety studies that I can send to Gurnee to look into that. Typically, these types of signs, like when we're actually, the American Legion, where I was here last time, is going to be on the, pretty much almost the other side of this building. So, no, we don't see it being an issue with traffic. And like I've kind of said in the past, these do have a built-in photo cell. So at night, these things will dim down. So it's not going to be, a super bright white light distracting drivers at night. And then it also just depends on the content. I know Gurnee has several codes that we have to, restrict ourselves in. And with the software, it's able to meet all the criteria.
Okay. And then this sign isn't going to match the other sign?
No, that would be a future then. That would be a future project, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not inclined for the 3 signs, but I could be very comfortable with the 2.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of a third sign?
That was just for Primo to get as much as they could. That's basically his thought process behind that. So, like I said, like my conversation earlier with him, you would be only allowed the 2. However, if he was able to get a third, he would like the third. However, it would go where the first sign is if 3 is unattainable.
And I like the location of the first sign. I think it gets more exposure than the location of the proposed third, so.
It definitely, the first location is a better spot for a sign. The third, you get more of the, northbound traffic there. However, the first sign location also gets you pretty good
Right.
coverage right there too.
Yeah.
So,
And both existing signs are near entrances to the parking facilities there too, so it makes a lot more sense. than the third.
exactly, yeah.
I'll open the floor to the public. Is there anyone from the public that cares to make a comment on this topic? If not, I'll close the floor to the public. I don't have any additional comments. I do concur with Mr. Paff's comment that the aesthetics of the sign is very nice, and just confirming that we're following all the same guidelines and restrictions that all the other electronic signs have been required to do. So with that on the record, anybody like to make a motion?
The motion will have to reflect that it's, the petition has been amended to reflect the,
Can we do it in one motion, or should we do 2? 1 to reject the third sign and 1 to accept second?
does staff have a preference?
Preferably, go ahead and do it as 2 separate motions.
Okay.
First to,
Okay.
always do it in the affirmative.
During an affirmative?
Yep.
Right. So we need a motion first on the request for a third sign.
The request for recommendation, approve the petition and recommend the village board approve the request for a third monument sign on property located at 720 Milwaukee Avenue, and the request for an electronic message sign, center sign on property
We'll
located.
do that as a separate
You want
motion.
to do separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just on the third sign. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morgan,
No.
Paff,
Nay.
Martin,
No.
Ware,
Yes.
You're voting in favor of a third sign?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't, no. Sorry.
It's difficult.
And no, so motion does not carry. So our recommendation to the village board is to not allow a third sign. So now we'll proceed with a motion on request for an electronic sign. And the motion should incorporate that we're recommending that sign number 1 be the one on Riverside has the electronic sign.
Approve a petition and recommend the village board approve a replacement sign of a monument sign with an EMC sign on property located at 720 Milwaukee Avenue in the same form and dimension as proposed. And 2, the request for an electronic messages sign, center sign on property located at 720 Milwaukee Avenue, subject to the following conditions. No portion of the image may flash, scroll, twirl, change color, or imitate movement. The electronic message center sign must have an automatic dimmer and photocell, which shall constantly monitor ambient light conditions and adjust sign brightness accordingly. 3, the use of bright white backgrounds or electronic message display is prohibited. The use of an amber color for the electronic message on a dark background is encouraged. 4, all portions of the electronic image message must have a minimum duration of 30 seconds. The message duration shall be reviewed by the village board in 6 months from the date of approval of the special use permit to determine whether it should be adjusted. Number 5, the electronic message board shall be shut off between midnight and 6 a.m. Number 6, the minimum height of the electronic numbers shall be no less than 6 inches as to make the sign easier to read. Number 7, the transition time between messages shall be instantaneous. Number 8, the entire message shall be contained on one screen. There shall not be any two-part messages or continuation. Number 9, the electronic sign shall have a resolution of 8 millimeters.
Do we have a second?
Second?
And I'd make one amendment just to include that it's the Riverside sign.
Correct. The Riverside sign that will be replaced with the EMC.
Great. Are you okay with the amendment?
Yeah. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Morgan,
Yes.
Path,
Aye.
Martin,
Yes.
Ware,
Aye.
and Sula.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Hey, you guys.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing, special use request for a car wash to be located on 1.3 plus or minus acres located at 7340 Grand Avenue. Shannon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject property is a vacant parcel that is part of the Keystone Gurnee subdivision. The site plan and architectural rendering as submitted to the village by the petitioner DCCW Acquisitions LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, also known for this business as Dream Clean, outlines the full extent of development for a car wash. Dream Clean is a regional car wash business currently operating 7 car wash facilities. At present time, Dream Clean is expanding its portfolio through acquisition and development of several vacant parcels throughout northern Illinois and seeking entitlement to construct car washes on approximately 10 sites, including 7340 Grand Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Shannon.
Yes, sir.
As this is a public hearing, I would request anyone from the petitioner or members of the general public who intend to give testimony or ask questions to please stand and be sworn in.
And again, please just raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Ready? Yeah.
At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the petitioner.
Good evening. My name is Craig Crandall with the law firm of Zukowski, Rogers, Flood, and McCardle. Thank you all for being here this evening. As Shannon indicated, here on behalf of DCCW Acquisitions, we do business as Dream Clean. Here today to present, looking at the site at 7340. It's my understanding that you may have previously looked at this site for another car wash user, and appreciate all the work with staff over this. We've kept our presentation pretty smart. Dream Clean or a Regional Express car wash, as we indicated in materials here. Looking at state-of-the-art establishments, we are looking at a number of places here up in northern Illinois and have taken this on the road, a number of different places, and are excited to come here to Gurnee. We think this site is really well suited for the use here. Don't need to get any kind of variations as part of what we're doing here, and have put the design in a way that met other the metrics for the municipality. Indicated on our presentation sheet here, this is the newest prototypes. We'll be looking at design for the year 2025. We'll hire 8 to 12 local employees for the location, 2 or 3 on site at any one time. And we're a lot of local competition. There's a lot, car washes are really big these days. We're happy to be able to become a part of your community here. Will this thing work here? Do I use that?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just let me know.
All right, very good. A little bit here talking about the community. When we come, any community that we come to, we do look to partner with some of the community activities, try and do some stuff, raise a little money for local charities, work with other local businesses, whatever synergies that we can. Indicated that our company does, our culture founded on the care and welfare of our employees, properly trained, paid above market salaries. We really want to make sure that all the customers get a great service and a good feeling when they come through. As far as the environment, we looked at, say, 90% of the water washing the car at home, 60% versus traditional facilities. We recycle approximately 80% of the water through a complex filtration system, and that's state-of-the-art, looking at try to use as least amount of water and reclaim as much as we can along the way. And as indicated, the standards for the product that we built is a high quality, and appreciate the opportunities here. As indicated, site here is about 1.3 acres. Building itself, 5,740 square feet. Talks a little bit about our off-site parking. Not a lot of parking, 4 regular, 1 ADA. We've got 16 vacuum stalls, 15 are regular, and 1 is a handicap accessible. As required by your ordinance, we do have bailout lane, and that's identified on the drawing that we will get here. Our general operational hours, we go 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. With our peak hours, lunchtime is usually the greatest amount of activity. And then again, evenings 4 to 5:30. Different times of the year, you'll see more of this. Fall, winter, we see a little bit more activity because that's when your cars are getting a little dirtier. Our plan, we believe, it does meet all use standards as outlined for a drive-through and has all the accoutrements that we need there. Talked a little bit before about our water conservation, showing the various filters that we have, how the process goes. Water comes in as much as we can is going to be saved through filtration. There is a lot of science that goes in behind here, and we feel that we are meeting all the most current operations and able to save as much water as we can. You'll see here, this is our plan here. We worked closely with staff to make sure that, number one, that the orientation of the car wash provides noise at the opposite end, disturbing neighbors and any of the residents as least possible. You note there written the 4-foot solid wall to prevent any of the lights going through over to neighbors when it is time for the lights. On the top left-hand corner, that's the bailout. So if you're coming through and you're not going to go through the tunnel, that's the way to go. Most often that bailout is used in the event there might be a problem with the car wash and there's a breakdown. It allows people that were in the stacking lanes a means to get out and not have everybody stuck there. You'll see the vacuums on that's the east side. All the vacuum stalls are in line there. The pump station that supplies the vac in the bottom left in the red, that's where the compressors are. So that was located there in order to keep all the sound generally in the same area and try to keep it away from any of the neighbors causing of any issues there. Stacking for this should have more than enough stacking, and any times where it does get there's a lot of cars in the line, we'll often have employees come out and actually control the traffic, make sure that we're not a burden to any of our adjoining neighbors that are located here. This is a look, this is our 3D rendering. We really look for consistency, so all of the Dream Clean car washes are gonna have this design. We have put a lot of thought into the renderings and our prototypes. We think we provide a really nice, nice looking car wash. And again, the design is one that we're using all across northern Illinois, so once you see one of our designs, they're all gonna be looking like this.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it for that.
So I have with me also here this evening Mitch Zavoduk. Mitch is one of the operational guys and the vice president of locations. So any questions you may have specific about operations, Mitch can certainly answer as well.
Deanna, would you like to start?
Sure. Couple questions, and maybe more for David. So lots 7380, 7360, and 7320. 7380, I assume it's Buona,
7340
or 7360?
would be Bona, yes.
Buena is 7360.
Or 7340, sorry.
No,
No,
7360, right?
The 40 is the proposal.
Yes.
Yeah. So 7320 is the bank? Is that what I'm reading right?
Yes.
Okay. So next to it, and then 7360,
7360 is the Bona
the
site,
bonus sign, okay.
and 7380 is the medical office.
On that others. Okay. And that's not filmed. Okay, I just, looks real close. That's my concern. And I was reading here that you said there are 400, an average of 400 cars will be washed each day?
Correct.
Wow. That's a lot of
Depending on,
traffic.
obviously depending on weather conditions and days, but that's kind of the average.
That's a lot of traffic. Okay. Okay. I think those are my questions so far.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
My questions were going to center on the disruption to the residents that are around there, the noise, those type of things, the noise that the car wash will make itself, and the noise that your customers will make themselves. But it seems like you've addressed that issue already by having the north end of the car wash buffered in some way.
Correct. And when we first chatted with staff, we wanted to make sure that how we orientated was designed to that so there wouldn't be an issue with conflicts. And quite honestly, that's something that comes up a lot of times when we come before municipalities, so we're quite conscious about that.
And the other thing, that's a lot of cars every day, and I'm just thinking about traffic backup. Where will that be? Where will that overflow?
Well, first off, remember, that's over a 12-hour day. The car washes actually go very quickly. You're talking really a couple minutes per car, and you'll see there's lots of stacking there.
Yeah.
You have 3 lanes there. So generally, very rarely are you going to get beyond that stacking.
Okay.
And like I say, if there is anything along those lines, staff is trained in order to make sure that we cause the least amount of disturbance as to anybody surrounding the facility.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I will add, just with the buffering, it doesn't really show well on this map, but where the drive aisle is at the north end of this drawing, there's an additional 30 feet of buffer area that was required as part of the overall development. That drive aisle was pushed south so that there could be 30 feet of berm and heavy landscaping along that north property line with residential. It's not shown on this drawing because it was installed as part of the overall development, site development before this.
I noticed that there's not a whole lot of plantings on it yet. Is it just not growing in yet?
Just hasn't grown in yet. They've got the correct number of plantings out there. They're just small.
Yeah, because you can see the house is really, really
And that's
easily
why
now.
we requested that they added that 4-foot wall so that would help screen some of those headlights as they're coming around the bend after the pay stations.
Speaking of the headlights, I don't see any lighting diagram or anything. Is that been put forward? I mean,
We did. We had our photometrics were included in the submittal.
They meet or exceed all of our requirements for the lighting, so it was not really part of the consideration.
yeah, if you don't mind. When we were presented with the last car wash, they talked a lot about the blowers, the blow dryers. I guess they're at the south end of the lot anyway, so not so bad. It's further away from residential.
Correct.
Are they like new technology where they're quieter,
Mitch, you want to
the
answer?
blow dryers?
Sir, you need to get to the microphone, please.
You can identify yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mitch Bavidock, Director of Development for Dream Clean Car Wash. The blowers are, I can't soften the fact that the blowers are the noisiest part of the car wash. They're louder than the vacuums. What we do have is high-speed doors that go open up only when the cars are exiting to minimize the amount of time that noise is exiting the car wash. And we also have, we're not running the blowers at all times. They're only running as a car goes through.
Okay, which is pretty much all the time.
Well, but yeah,
But you did push.
we did. We
position it
actually
at
had
the
a sound
south end of
study
the lot.
done.
So you're
but,
further away from the residents than some of them are, so. Okay, that was my only, traffic flow. So you're opening up an opening between Buona Beef and your lot? Is that what I'm seeing there? I mean,
Yeah, it's up there, up
Right
in
now,
the
there's a
northwest
curb.
corner.
There's, the driveway on the east side of Bona Beef is designed to be a common driveway. So the property line bisects that driveway, so it basically is centered on that on that lane,
on the lane that's already there?
on the lane that's already there.
Okay, but right now, there's a solid curb there. That'll be cut out?
That'll be modified as needed to make this site plan work.
Okay.
And it'll be the same thing on the bank on the other side. It will be a shared access driveway, both facilitating the bank as well as the car wash.
All right, that's all for me.
It would have been nice to see the site plan for the shrubs and the trees. You said you had a study done on the blowers. Can you comment on the study done on the blowers or what you did with that to say what you were talking about with regards to noise on the blowers, and dryers?
Yeah, we, for our own benefit, we commissioned a sound study, which we always do on our new car washes, just so that we could get a baseline understanding of where our sound is going. And I could show
What do you
it to you.
compare it to?
Pardon me?
I guess, what do you compare it to?
So the way,
What's your index?
so the way that the sound study works is it compares it, the index is ambient noise level. So the sound study expert goes out there and for 24 hours measures the ambient noise at locations all around where our site would be. And then they compare, and then they have another study that they've done based on our template of our prototype car wash of our blower setups and vacuums. And then they map it together to create a sound map to show where the sound is flowing. And in this case, it all flows to the south towards Grand Avenue. Nothing goes to the north.
That's all I had right now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to frame my question, I've been at the car wash at the corner of Hunt Club in Washington when all the stacking is completely full, and their layout facilitates the ability to kind of use the ring driveway around the car wash to handle that overflow. I'm struggling to see how it will be handled with this particular layout.
So as you can see, when you enter the development, if there is any overflow, any stacking, any overflow would actually be contained within the driveway between the bank and the car wash. It doesn't spill out onto any public roads you'd have a ton of overflow beyond our stacking before you would actually, we're never that busy. There's 30 cars that can stack right there. We never have 30 cars waiting in line for us. So we have an abundance of stacking as it is, but even if we didn't, nothing backs up onto the street. It would only back up onto the development right there, that entire long road. It's almost like a fourth stacking lane.
You're talking about the one that runs north-south to the
Yeah,
to the east?
exactly where Shannon is showing the length, the run of on there. That's on the private property that is part of Keystone Development.
So if somebody was coming into the development from Grand Avenue and stacking area was completely full, they'd have to
So
they'd have to go north and then do a U-E to get into queue?
So for that to stack, I mean, you're talking about a couple hundred cars worth of distance between Grand Avenue by the time you loop around into our car wash. I've never in my days have seen 200 cars waiting in line to go to a car wash. That just doesn't happen. I mean, a busy day might be 50 cars, but
As a comparison, do we know how many cars stack in the other car wash? I thought it was less.
It's pretty similar. Our code requires, I think, 7 stacking spaces per pay station, which is what is demonstrated on here. And you can see.
we have 3 pay stations.
Yeah, 3 pay stations, so we're showing 21 cars in line at this one, which is what the requirement is, which is what I think the Papa's Car Wash had as well.
Okay. Thought it was shorter. All right.
I still have a concern. I just don't, I don't see how it's going to work. And then a separate concern that I have is this is a pretty prominent location on Grand Avenue, and car washes don't really generate any revenues to the village. So I'm just thinking in terms of balancing our zoning to make sure that we have the proper balance of the ability of the village to provide services and the ability of the village to receive payment for services. And the way this would shape up, the only thing that's really going to generate any revenue on this whole site is Buena Beef. So that gives me a little concern.
Yeah.
All right.
What? Yeah, speaking of the traffic, what happens if somebody comes from the Buona Beef parking lot and they're already stacking in that other road coming down from the other road there, from the, what is it, Circle Road? I mean, they're allowed to drive through the Buona Beef parking lot, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have put we're going to have a left turn only on the exit from the car wash. So you won't be able to come out of the car wash and go to the right when you're exiting the car wash. Now, if you're talking about people coming from,
I'm talking about coming from Grand Avenue into the,
so Grand Avenue, you have to come up all the way around, or you come in, if you're coming from, so right now you're assuming that you're coming from the east. And there is the entrance you would more logically enter would be right there, exactly where Shannon, you would turn on that road and then you would turn left into the subdivision and then turn down. That would be the more logical way, otherwise you'd be going past us to come back and around. I mean, it could happen. I mean, it's not an illegal traffic pattern, but it's just not the most logical one.
all right.
So follow-up question to that. If you can only turn right out of the
Left.
you can only turn left out of the,
The exiting the car wash. That was to shield the folks at Bona from bumping into their drive lanes.
okay.
You're going to exit and go east,
You're going to
coming out south, and then you're going to go east.
Okay.
So that'll minimize any of the traffic that you're concerned about, people coming from Buena. They won't be bumping into each other, and you'll exit out that way.
So everybody will have to exit off to that street to the east there.
Correct.
So there isn't two-directional traffic as indicated on the gram here?
The two-directional would be if you were coming, it is two-directional, but not when you're exiting the tunnel. So that access road on the south side of the site could be used to traverse from the bank to Bona Beef and drive past the car wash on the south end of the development. That would be an acceptable traffic pattern. But if you are exiting the car wash, in order to not cause a traffic jam over on the Bona Beef side, we're asking our patrons to exit to the left.
You see there's that barrier, it's kind of a crosshatch there, where the cars, yeah, right there, right where Shannon has that. So that's why that's there, so you can't make a left there. Now, obviously, we all know just because there's a barrier there and we don't want you going there, you're gonna have someone who may do that, but it is designed that everyone goes to the left to minimize any interference coming from the other way.
So anybody that's coming into the car wash from the east, or anybody that's coming into the development from the east, okay, the entrance that's to the north of the proposed bank,
Yes.
and they want to get to Buena Beef, they're going to be in constant conflict with cars coming out of the tunnel.
They can go past the car wash, exactly, and go left there, and go directly into the Bona Beef and not have to they're not passing the car wash. That's why our cars aren't going to the left, therefore they're going right into the Bona Beef. There is no, hence that very point that you just mentioned is why we made the no left, no right turn.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'll open the floor to the public. If anyone from the public has a question, if you could please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Once everyone has, direct your questions to the Planning and Zoning Board. Once all the questions have been raised, I'll close the floor to the public, and then we'll answer the questions the best that we can. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kevin Lima. I'm a resident in Bridlewood. I live off of Woodland Terrace, where that road there on the north of the page basically ends. My backyard faces there. You know, my main concern, and also my fellow neighbors that are sitting here on my right, is traffic and safety of our neighborhood. Car washes are notoriously known for traffic. There's a long lines. There's barely any room between Woodland. Is it Woodland? What's the road there to the right? I'm sorry. Bridlewood. And coming in off of Grand, there's a very short span from there to the car wash. Basically, I've been living here since 2008. This road on the north has become a pass-through for Grand Avenue when there's traffic. And so you can only imagine at 4 o'clock when this gas station's pumping, there's so many, not gas station, excuse me, car wash is pumping, there's so many people there. And now you got the spillover of Grand coming through. You know, plus there's lots of kids in this neighborhood. You know, even now, right now, with only Bona Beef there, it's super dangerous. We have semis coming in from both sides. Now you're gonna add a car wash, the traffic overflow from Grand, the noise, the lights that shine on my house all night long. It's ridiculous. I mean, something needs to be stopped by these businesses on this corner.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you put your name, write your name on that sheet of paper, please? Thank you.
You need my address? It
I
says
don't-
address to the side.
You don't have to provide your address. That's optional.
It's optional.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Music. I am a resident of Bridlewood as well, 18043 Banbury Drive. I've been a resident there for 30 years. Back when we had that, it was all farmed. So we understand progress continues to happen, okay, and we get that. Just piggybacking off what Tim said, that service road that runs behind our house, and our dimensions are pretty good here, because if I'm standing at my backyard, at my fence, that road starts about where you all are sitting. It's that close to my back fence. And it's about the height of the podium you're at, too. So it's not very high. It's considered a berm, I suppose, but it's not. It comes running right off down into our backyards. That road, the cars have been whizzing by all times of day, all times of night. You get the kids with their music cranking. This is right behind our houses. Now, I know we only have 10 houses along this stretch, but it's 10 houses of good people. Half of us have been there for 30 years. The other half are young couples with young kids. I'm concerned that somebody's gonna come off of this roadway, especially when it gets slick, this service road, And like that, they're in our backyard. And somebody is gonna get hurt because of this setup. This berm, these bushes that are put up are this big. I'm gonna be 6 feet under by the time these things cover anything up. There needs to be a wall, a fence or something that gives us some privacy, especially if you're gonna go ahead with, continue with the businesses, which I understand that that's the way it happens and that's what's going to happen. As a resident here, I've worked for the county for 20 years. We love Gurnee. We just feel kind of like slighted by what happened behind us here. We appreciate what we got in the mail, the notice of this tonight. We certainly didn't get that when Bona started, and when everything else started up, we didn't get any notice at all. It just started, and it went off of plans that were almost 20 years old. Like I said, we're trying to work with everybody, and we're not trying to overstep, you know, or be a pain in the rear end. But there's certain things that are valid concerns. My whole backyard is lit up like a ball field all night long. And like I said, that roadway is literally about from me to you guys. And the noise of some of these businesses, it's gonna be constant, it's gonna be all day. The quality of our life has diminished greatly. And I'm sure I can speak for my neighbors and everybody else who lives along that stretch. And the way Grand Avenue's set up with the two, with Bridlewood and Woodland, those small little side streets that come into our subdivision, I'm telling you guys, something bad is gonna happen. The job I do for a living, I know the way people drive, and it's not good. And with these people, these kids whizzing down this little service road, I'm warning you, something's gotta be done, because somebody's gonna end up being killed in their own backyard because of the amount of traffic that's coming through there. So that's my concern. I appreciate you taking the time. I know some of you have already commented on that, so you know what's going on, but I just wanted to bring a little clarity to it and let you know that we are concerned. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And don't forget your
Thank
name.
you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim Shepard. I live at 18051 West Banbury Drive. And can you pull up the overview? No, of the subdivision
Yeah, I'm going there.
in the pond. But like Scott and like Kevin, I've lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. 30 years. And for the most part, it's been cornfields. And I want to say, shame on you folks for not involving us in the first phase that brought Bueno beef through. We were not notified. It came through like a hurricane. We were not. The development went and took place without the input of the people. You all work for the people, and you did a poor job in developing this property. There was a road that was put through. All the natural trees that were there were cut to the stump. A road went through where I used to see sandhill cranes migrating to that pond. It's all gone. Thank you very little. I'm not sure what was going on in your minds when you allowed these people to come through, put a road in without the consent of the neighbors. Shame on you. Shame on you. I'm also ashamed that there's not more representation from our neighbors. We should be up in arms. With the way government is going right now, you folks dropped the ball. You did not include us. Now we have a street going through our backyards like Scott mentioned, from me to you, people zoom through there, buses go through there, garbage collectors go through there, delivery trucks go through there, semis go through there, and the road is this wide. You didn't take in consideration of putting in a sidewalk for people, because now from Grandwood Park, this has become a tourist attraction. People walk through there left and right, and I'm sure, like Scott mentioned, we're gonna have a catastrophe. Someone's gonna get hit. People use that front road now as a bypass when traffic gets backed up at Grand Avenue and Almond. And the fact that you're not even considering putting another exit into this new property, I see people, Grand Avenue has 2 lanes, and there's a turn right only. Do you think people obey that? Do you think there's not going to be an accident there? They turn into our driveway, they turn left, they exit Bueno Beef, and now you're gonna, with these folks, you're gonna evaluate or increase the problem. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Really should. To allow this to happen. What was a wetland that nature, Mother's Nature, Red Hills cranes, you know, it all went to shit. I don't know what, you know, I lived there for 30 years, and I'm blessed. I love Gurnee. I love what it has to offer. But we dropped the ball on this one, folks. And now you're shoving it down the throats of the people in Bridlewood because of this. And you're going to put a car wash. Can we go to the car wash? These folks said they're going to put up a 4-foot berm or a 4-foot wall. Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? A 4-foot wall. And where you have the stack up of cars that are waiting to get into the car wash, the hours are 8 to 8, right, gentlemen? 8 to 8? Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
I'm sorry.
You're straying from the microphone.
8 to 8? So now you're going to have car lights right into someone's living room, right into someone's back house. I got light posts. I don't have to turn on my lights at night. I could walk around my whole entire house at midnight, not need to turn on a light. Guys, drop the ball. I'm sorry, I just hope you listen to the neighborhoods, the neighbors, and really reconsider what these people are pushing, and then consider the neighborhood. Because after 30 years, I'm sad to see what has happened. So with that, appreciate your help. I hope you are open-minded and understanding that there are people that have lived there for years and years, but better communication when we do these kind of things, and thinking of the people that you work for when you do these things. That I'm done. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your input. At this time, I'll close the floor. Oh, are you with the petitioner, or?
So my name is Tim Haig. I'm with Keystone Ventures. We're the organization that is doing the overall development.
I'm not sure.
So
Okay.
I guess I'd just like the opportunity to make some comments. First of all, we acquired the property. It was zoned commercial. When this property was annexed into the village of Gurnee, it was brought in as commercial property. So the zoning has always been there, and the anticipated uses of commercial is something that the village has always entertained and designated that as commercial. Relative to some of the comments we've heard tonight, we always adhere to a good neighbor policy and strive for that. I've made myself available to a couple of gentlemen. Tim, I'll do the same to you. And happy to meet with you. And you have our commitment that we'll review the berm that we worked with staff on the initial development of this. on such things as the access and the separation buffer between the commercial and the residential. There is a berm there. It averages about 4 feet. There is plantings on top of it. The plantings just went in, so they are young. We'll work with the residential neighbors to the north. If there's alternate planting materials, evergreens, something that's more dense, we're happy to entertain that conversation. If it's the neighbor's preference to have a fence back there, we'll do that as well. The last thing we want to do is create a development that's going to, diminish the enjoyment of your adjoining properties and create angst. We want to be a good neighbor. You have our commitment to do that. Relative to the access, as you know, has a governing body. Grand Avenue is controlled by IDOT. Hutchins is controlled by Lake County DOT. They're very restrictive on what access they'll allow and what they won't. The right in, right out on Grand Avenue was the most access that IDOT would allow. So we do have adjacency to Bridlewood on the east and Hutchins on the west, Woodland Terrace on the northwest. The anticipated development for the west half of the parcel is to be a medical office building with Advocate Healthcare. That's anticipated to be served by access off of Hutchins. And then continuing through the development, there's cross-access rights between these parcels. I think to some degree, when that gets developed within the next couple of years, it'll mitigate the volume of utilization on the internal access drive on the north side of the property from Bridlewood to Woodland Terrace. One other thing that we've done in some various developments too, we're happy to review the utilization of that drive upon the development of the proposed car wash and the bank. And if it is being used as a cut through, we can introduce speed bumps and speed tables and traffic mitigation measures so that it's being utilized by the patrons of the development, not as a cut through traffic. So those are just a couple of observations. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the neighbors' input as well. Thanks.
Thank you. At this time, I will close the floor to the public.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Mr. Haig said, the property was annexed and zoned commercial in 2003. So all of the public notifications and the public hearings for the commercial zoning happened in 2003. So that was, 20 plus years ago. Once it was annexed and zoned, that gives certain development rights to the property owner to develop things that are permitted by right uses. The restaurant use is a permitted by right use per our zoning code. The car wash, because it has some potential for traffic, potential for noise, it is a special use. So a special use goes through a public hearing process like this, where a permitted by right use goes straight to a building permit. Very similar to a residentially zoned lot. If it's zoned correctly, you can come right in and start with a building permit and get your building permit. You don't have to go through a public hearing process. So there's the Gurnee zoning ordinance has two lists, permitted by right uses and special uses. So that's why there's a difference in the development process. Going back to the rezoning, that happened, and the direction was set over 20 years ago for how this property is going to develop. The fence on top of the berm, the village has quite a bit of experience with fences on top of the berm. They are difficult to maintain. They are limited in effectiveness. So our current code does not require it. It allows it as an option, but our current code doesn't require it. We rely more heavily on landscaping than we do on a physical fence. And when the plantings go in, they're small. I understand that. It takes a couple years for them to fill in. Mr. Haig's organization was gracious enough to go ahead and do that to all the berm and all of the plantings early in the process with the first development site. They didn't have to do that until each of the development sites came in. They went ahead and planted them early so that we could get some growth by the time the bank comes in, by the time the car wash comes in, by the time the medical office comes in. So there was, a good neighbor, they're trying to be a good neighbor by getting those plantings done early before the buildings actually came. Sidewalk, we don't encourage people walking on that service road. That service road is for, vehicular. I understand that. As part of the overall development process, we are putting a sidewalk from Bridlewood to Hutchins along the south side of the development. So there will be pedestrian access into each of the sites from the south side where there is no sidewalk now. So I understand that's a cut through right now for pedestrians. Eventually, once the site gets built out, there will be pedestrian facilities all the way along the Grand Avenue frontage. Let's see. The lighting. So the lighting that you're experiencing in your backyards and your homes, is that coming from Grand Avenue or is that coming from the Bona site?
Bonus site. For me, it's that road that goes through.
Okay.
I live off of my backyard faces the Woodland Terrace, so that little frontage road, may I stand and point?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is my house right here.
Okay.
So that road comes right through all night long. The headlights from the cars.
The headlights, okay.
Shine on my house.
Okay.
And there's a light right here that they put right here at the street. It shines.
Okay.
In my backyard.
Okay.
And I have a similar, may I point it out?
Sure.
So I live here, where am I? Here. And on top of the berm they put here, which I appreciate, which is much better than some of my neighbors. On the top of that berm, they have a street light. I do not have to turn my lights on in my house at night.
Okay.
When I go to the bathroom but anyhow, it needs to be shielded some way to cast the light out towards Grand Avenue versus into the neighborhood.
We'll take a look at that, definitely. Shields are appropriate. LED lights are, with the advent of LED lights in the last few years, they are able to shape the light much easier than what they were with the old metal halides and some of the other lights. We'll take a look at that and see if there's some modifications we can make to those lights along that.
Otherwise, I'm going to host Monday night football.
Okay.
For me, because of the lights, I just spent $900 on trees to block the lights from shining right into my house.
Okay.
Car lights that are my major concern.
The headlights coming through. Okay.
Shines right on my house, and there's nothing blocking those car lights.
Okay. And we'll take a look at that as well, see if there's possibly some plantings that we can do in the right-of-way as well that will, some evergreens or something like that that will help shield that as well for that newly created T intersection. Okay. Yeah, I believe that's pretty much all the key issues that were brought up.
Okay, second round of discussion from members of the Planning and Zoning Board.
I have a question about traffic generation, like a fast food restaurant versus a car wash. Is there a comparison there?
So one of the more recent drive-through restaurants that we had, Raising Cane's, their goal was a vehicle through the drive-through every 2 to 2.5 minutes. So that equates to 25 cars an hour, 20 to 25 cars an hour. So drive-through, and then you have the dine-in dining as well to kind of give you an idea. So during heavy days when, our Public Works Department's been spreading salt, for everybody, I'm assuming that your car wash will be similar to others, that we've heard testimony in previous ones that the maximum throughput for a car wash, you have some flexibility as to how fast you run the cars through. And that you can push up to like 100 cars an hour? 165. 165. Most of them don't have it on full speed?
Right, we usually
So,
Excuse me, you probably need to use the microphone to get the
Yeah.
recording. That's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we, just to repeat, we typically, I can't even remember what I said now.
The rate in which.
Yeah, oh, the rate of card, yes. The rate, the typically we push through, our belts run at about 130 cars per hour, and we can push it up to 165 to get more cars through per hour as needed in a busy time, if that's due to weather or time of the day or whatnot.
so, with the 30 cars that are queued up, that would equate to a wait time of probably 15, 20 minutes? to clear the
If that, so 6 cars can fit in the tunnel at the same time. We really, the equipment is such that you don't really need that much space between the cars. And the total time through the tunnel is about 90 seconds.
Okay.
So
So,
Up to how many cars per hour?
if we speed it up, we can push 165 per hour through the tunnel.
You said Raising Cane's 25 cars an hour?
it was 1 car through the drive-through every 2 to 2.5 minutes. And I think they've got a double drive-through as well, so they kind of give you an equation.
I mean, that, we're talking,
It's apples
it
and
would,
oranges.
yeah, and that would be on our busiest day at the busiest time, and you're talking, we're only, our busiest season is really in January during the salt season, and even then, it's only on days that it's nice and sunny on a January day. Otherwise, it's snowy out, nobody's going to go to the car wash. So it's, maybe a dozen days a year, and then even then on those days, it's only during the times when it's convenient for those folks. So that's why we can adjust for that time. It's not, we're not pushing through 165 cars an hour every hour, is what I'm saying.
And as we have more of these facilities in town, the demand is kind of spreading out a little bit. I know everybody has the image from 15, 20 years ago when it was the spray wash where you pull in and the machine goes around the car and sprays it, and there was an hour-long line to go through it.
Right.
So we haven't seen those type of days where we're exceeding the storage capacity that's built into the code as we're getting more and more of these facilities.
I've noticed that myself. I went by the one on corner of Washington and Hunt Club, and there was nobody. But there are days when it's a little busier. I haven't seen anywhere near the number that when it first opened. Even the one down on Washington further, same kind of result.
Might be a little depressed right now because of the construction.
True. That is true. One thing I don't really like about the fact that about the entrance to the car washes coming in on a residential street that we don't have with some of the other car washes entering off of a major thoroughfare. I mean, if they were coming in off of Grand Avenue, it might be a little different. I don't like the fact they're pushed through both sides on a residential street.
Well, Hutchins Road is a Lake County highway,
True.
so that one is a little bit heavier. Woodland Terrace and Bridlewood are both residential streets, but a block off of Grand Avenue. Grand Avenue, like Mr. Haig said, the most they were able to get was a right-in, right-out. With that being said, we needed to give access to the adjoining roads so that vehicles could get out. Lake County limited the access onto Hutchins, and that's why they needed to make the connection onto Woodland Terrace.
Right. And that's going to remain that way even after the other developments go in?
Yes.
I'm sorry, will there be a right-in, right-out off of Grand Avenue when the medical center is developed?
The one right-in, right-out in the center of the site will be the only one for Grand.
Will be the only one, okay. And just on the site plan, I know we talked about sidewalks to the south end. Will there, in the site plan in totality, because I can't really see it here, will there be a development of a sidewalk to the north along the entire development or no?
not along the service road, just along the public right-of-ways,
Is Grand Avenue.
which is Grand Avenue. There's an existing one along Bridlewood, and there will be one along the east side of Hutchins.
Hutchins, okay.
I'm surprised there wasn't a sidewalk developed into that development. I mean, if you have places like Blown Beef, I would think people from the resident.
The village's codes require them along public roadways. So that's why, we don't require them along the service roads. That's the differentiation.
I have a comment about how tight everything is on that service road and everything around there with the increased traffic, the traffic flow, plus the normal traffic flow, even if it wasn't there. Is there any place you can direct me where I would see that kind of same width or length? Because we've drove over there a few times, and it is pretty tight.
The service road is, I believe it's a 24 or 26-foot wide pavement road, 26-foot wide pavement. So it, typically is a 12-foot travel lane is what most streets are. A lot of our village streets are 30, and we allow parking on one side. That's kind of why we go more than what the requirements are. When we did a couple subdivisions like Estates at Churchill Hunt on the north side of town several years ago, because those were larger lots and the homes were set back farther and had more capacity to park on their driveways, we shrunk those roads down to 24 feet. A lot of the roads on the east side of town, where they're, some historical roads that we inherited from the county, those are probably 24-foot wide roads as well.
It kind of concerns me a bit with the amount of potential traffic coming out of the car wash, aligned with the traffic coming out of Buena Beef, and then potentially the traffic coming out of the bank. That's a lot of load on that service road.
Differing peak hour times between the different businesses.
Okay.
If they were all, restaurants, you'd have them during the meal hours. Bank is going to be morning, afternoon, early afternoon. Car wash, as they testified, weekends and, lunch hours and,
And morning and afternoon.
morning, afternoons, but, it said their experience is, 4 to 5:30 is kind of their sweet spot for their busiest time.
Okay.
Bona Beef is going to be, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So differing peak times will give you some benefits. Same thing with the medical office. It's going to be most likely a Monday through Friday, office hours type of facility.
Okay.
So having the different types of businesses within this development is going to benefit, those peak traffic hours.
What capacity does the developer have in that service road, as some of the neighbors indicated, he mentioned, to put speed humps or speed reducing mechanisms on that road so that individuals are not coming through at a high rate of speed while traffic is trying to exit the bank, Bona Beef, the car wash, and eventually the medical center?
Yeah, thank you. So that is a private road, controlled by what a reciprocal access easement agreement that we create, we submit, and the village reviews it and offers their comments. So it is a private road, so we do control it, so we do have the ability to do that. What we've done in some other developments is we've looked at it at certain points in times. Now obviously the Bona Rainbow Cone is the only business operating there. We could come back after the car wash and bank opens with a third-party traffic consultant. We usually use KLOA. They're fairly well respected throughout Lake County and the state of Illinois. Have them do a survey of it, and if that's determined, make some recommendations, whether that be speed bumps or speed tables, to help manage that.
Yeah, I think, just hearing the testimony of the neighbors there, that seems like some of that's happening now. So I would like to encourage, sooner than later, that some study or something be done to minimize that, because I do emphasize, and I do understand and hear what they're saying, if you do have traffic that's unrestricted, in a sense,
Yeah.
that's cutting through, and then you do have individuals and other traffic exiting at a slower rate of pace or speed, and something happens out there, it's not going to be good. So I would like to, encourage you to work with staff and the neighbors to allow some type of speed mechanism to be put, speed reducing mechanism rather, to be put into that service road.
Good suggestion, and we agree. We don't want cut-through traffic happening there either, probably as much as the residents don't. So yeah, we would be happy to, make a condition to the consideration. We'll take direction from staff if you want us to do a checkpoint now, and then after the businesses for parcel 3 and 4, the car wash and the bank are open, we could redo it. And then subsequently, a few years out, when Advocate Health opens, we could do a third one. And let that guide us with direction from staff.
I'll just add speed bumps, speed humps. We really don't like, and they create noise. They create service response issues for our police and fire. The key is making the service road less desirable to drive on than, the parallel roads to it.
How do we do that?
We can meander it. We can, just by having the businesses open and operating is going to introduce more, turning traffic, slower traffic through the site, which is going to make it less desirable.
But that's what I'm afraid of, like slower traffic entering and exit the businesses with someone that is not paying as much attention, using it as a cut-through, creates a hazard.
But this service road is basically 150 feet away from the existing road that's just north of their homes. So it's not a huge advantage to take it because it's, basically parallels, I think it's Banbury, 150 feet farther north. The only reason why it's being chosen, in my mind, the only reason why it's being chosen is because there's no driveways, because there's no traffic on it, because it's not busy. So they're choosing to take that instead of going another 150 feet to go on Banbury on the public street. So once it gets occupied, once there's more businesses there, and we can look at making it, some other ways of making it less desirable. Speed tables are better than speed humps. So there's some other traffic calming mechanisms that you can use. Visually narrowing it makes people slow down even further. So yeah, there's definitely some things we can do, but speed humps, speed tables are not necessarily the be-all, end-all for.
I understand, and I understand that, but I just would like to have us,
We'll
commit
continue.
or consider and review this so that because I would believe if someone's in my backyard and I can hear the vehicle rushing by, that it's my reality.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And we'll continue to monitor and evaluate as it continues to develop.
What about potentially signage like, through traffic or not a thoroughfare? I know people are going to ignore it, but
It's not an enforceable sign. By putting signs up, a lot of times it gives a false belief that, it's enforceable.
Oh, okay.
It would be difficult. I don't know how effective additional signage.
Okay, it's just a thought. Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Quick question, what's a speed table?
Speed table, it's more of a slow, gradual rise up, flat area, and then a slow, gradual rise or climb back down to the ground. So it's not a up and down or a slow up and down. It has the same effect, but a lot of times they'll use them at crosswalks, or it will be an elevated crosswalk. So you have to slow down because of the change of grade.
Okay, I haven't seen them.
I'm glad you asked. I was going to ask.
Just real quickly, I was doing the math of your 400 quote, 400 cars divided by 12 hours is about 30 cars an hour. So, but you say that you do serve more than that, right? But 30 cars per hour is a lot of traffic. The other concern I have is traffic on Grand is heavy. And between 4 and 5:30, when people are going back home, it's a lot of traffic to add to the traffic for the car wash.
Anita, any?
I do just want to say, we don't usually consider our patrons to be destination customers. So this is traffic that's already going past Grand Avenue, and for them, we're a convenience stop. So no one's going to go out of their way on their way home from work to come to Grand Avenue to go get their car washed. But if they're already going down Grand Avenue, they might make the right turn to get their car washed. So we're not really, we've had many traffic studies done that basically say that's what happens with car washes, that we're pulling in, and that's even our business model is how we work, is pulling in existing traffic. We're not looking for destination traffic.
Ronita, any additional? Unless anybody has any additional comments, a motion and the recommendation to the village board would be in order. Any other questions or comments?
I have another comment. We've talked a lot about making the quality of life for the residents better with things that we can do. So we're being asked to approve something where we really don't know the impact of the other things that we have considered here. Is there a change in motion we need to make, or some caveats, or something along those lines? Because if we approve it as it is, it's the same condition that we have presented it. We don't know if we can add bigger berms, that we can put in the speed tables, that we can put in signage. I'm concerned about the quality of life for those residents whose property backs into that, and also that service road. But we don't address that in the motion, do we?
This is really focused on zoning.
It's the zoning part.
Okay, you know, the zoning part as to whether it's special use. So car washes, it's understood that they could exist in commercially zoned property, but there's an appreciation that depending on the configuration of the property and whatnot, it might create a hardship, and that's why it's made as a special use. But the focus should be on, you know, whether the plans would accommodate the traffic, and whether the traffic can circulate on, you know, within the plan as presented.
And typically, if we do put caveats or additions and motions, it's because there's been very healthy discussion, and we've made some sort of a change to how the petition was originally presented to us.
And sometimes you're asking, there might be some variations requested in there. We don't have any of that tonight with this petition.
Yes.
So you're just focusing on the plan as submitted. There has been some discussion to address other issues out there, but, you know, just to focus down on what the motion would consider would just be whether to recommend the petition for special use.
And just to emphasize that last point, we are recommending, we're not making a decision on this.
Yeah.
For one. Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I could again, Tim Haig with Keystone Ventures. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you very much. And I think I'm not an attorney, so I'll leave that up to the qualified people. But you have our commitment, and the neighbors have our commitment that we're going to get out there and meet with them, listen to the concerns. I do think with increased landscaping, a variance of the plantings that are out there, and then with staff's input, fencing where the neighbors want it and where staff thinks it can function successfully, you have our commitment to do that. Absolutely. So again, I don't know if it takes the format of a condition or not, but you have our commitment to do that, as do the neighbors.
Thank you for that additional input. All right, is anybody willing to advance a motion?
I just wanted to point one other thing out that I noticed during the discussion was that there is no flow-through on their vacuum, which they do have at some of the other sites where you have another way out. Everything is shoved out the same direction. Anybody who goes through the car wash and anybody who's using the vacuums has to go out the same way. They have to turn around down at the end, which I was kind of surprised. I didn't really notice that when I was looking it over to begin with. Whereas in the one on Washington and Hunt Club, there is flow through where you can drive out the other end and not back out the same way you came in. I don't see any way to fix that here.
The one
Something that-
on
something-
Grand doesn't have that feature either, though.
What's that?
The one on Grand doesn't have that feature either.
Where's the one on Grand?
East side.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
the newest one?
I haven't seen that one. Never even noticed it. Have you used it?
I've been there. Mhm.
Seem to cause any kind of problem?
Not to, I know.
Okay, thanks.
All right, is anyone willing to advance a motion?
Yeah, recommend the motion, approve the petition and recommend the village board approve the subject approve the petition and recommend the village board approve the special use permit for Dream Clean Car Wash on property located at 7340 Grand Avenue.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, any discussion? Do we have a roll call, please?
Morgan,
Aye.
Path,
Nay?
Martin,
Yay.
Ware,
Nay.
and Sula.
A nay, so motion fails. As you know, we are a recommending body to the village board. Staff will keep you apprised of the timing in the event that you do care to take it to the village board. All right. Next item on the agenda is to approve the proposed meeting schedule for calendar year 2026. Does anybody have any questions on what was submitted in our packet? If not, a motion to approve would be in order.
What was this on? I'm sorry.
The calendar for next year.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
No.
A motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Is that you, Ronita?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Second?
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is, the agenda is, there's a meeting scheduled for the 4th of, I'm sorry, the 5th of November. Are we going to have one?
We do not have any public hearings at this point, so nothing is slated, so most likely it will be canceled.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the floor to the public for comments for anything that was not on the agenda this evening. There being nobody here, close the floor to the public. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Morgan.
Do we need a second?
We need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Papp. All in favor, say aye.
Where have I?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Aye.
You always need a second.
Okay. Okay, got it.